until you roll it out, you have no idea how the market's going to react.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've been actually kind of silently testing that with the protocols, existing protocols in the space. So we've been doing user research. So it wasn't like a complete surprise what would happen when we roll this out. But at the same time, yeah, we got a lot of feedback from a lot of mainly wallets about why, like what would be for them useful to have in DeFi SDK so that it becomes a no-brainer for them. I think the bigger part right now is actually rolling out the interactive adapter support. So that would allow just the transaction right now is only read-only balances, and this is not something people like straight away would want to integrate because it's less of a problem than actually interacting with all these protocols. But this is coming, so that's one. Also, people wanted so a lot of people are actually moving in a similar direction, and they do like a lot the fact that they can let's say put money into Compound or Aave using the same ABI. But then what they're missing is the prices and on-chain prices essentially being fetched using the same SDK. So this is one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got, and we're thinking how do we make sure it works as a package.
Yeah, obviously pricing, is tough. That's what I guess, the big announcement by Coinbase, right? Saying they're going to be an oracle, price oracle now.
Yeah, I think this is great. So there are a few solutions out there right now, but looking back at like what happened with Maker just recently, we see that like sometimes these systems are not very reliable, especially like and like BZX hack, what happening just because they were relying on Uniswap as an on-chain oracle. That led to the whole problem emerging. So yeah, I think that's a good thing that we get more players in the space working on that issue.
Yeah, I kind of look at them like, the problems, we talked about this a little bit, like plane crashes. We're at the very beginning of this brand new technology. We're rolling stuff out until you get it into the wild. You can test it and test and test it, but, at some point you got to put it out there. And I think the sooner you put it out there, the faster you learn. And sometimes you learn that it leads to a plane crash. And then you have to correct for that plane crash. So not that you won't have any more plane crashes, but at least you won't have a plane crash for that reason.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think one difference between the normal startup space and like in DeFi space is that the risks are slightly higher. I mean, I wouldn't say slightly, actually more high, like much more higher than the risks in the traditional startup space. So failing in DeFi sometimes can like kill your company. And I really hope that like first it teaches a lesson to a lot of startups that are doing stuff in the DeFi space, so they take all the precautious measures before they roll out stuff. But I don't think that failing once means that the team is not capable.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I totally agree with you. I quite often say that I really think the most important word in the English language, at the end of the day, every decision is about balance, right? And so where do you put that thing about, okay, I'm going to make it, more secure and more secure and more secure. And then, again, until you actually have it out there, you really don't know what it's going to be and what it's going to, and, weirdly, one of our greatest strengths, the fact that we're like these Legos, right? And we're composable, right? I think that's what's enabling, but that obviously then leads to plane crashes, and what I thought was super interesting, I was listening to a talk at E&Y last week, had a 3-day blockchain conference, and it was great. And one of the guests they had on the second day was worked at the Federal Reserve, and he was talking about the central bank digital coin. And yeah, I got to say, he said a number of things that were quite surprising to me. But the most is that it's not going to be programmable.
Okay, yeah. I think they're just exporting the legacy stuff into the blockchain world.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea of doing this, obviously, is that it's programmable, right? That's the big, being digital is good, and there are lots of advantages to it. But I think it's the programmability that's obviously will have the far greater impact, right? And
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I assume at some point they will, and he basically said, look, that, obviously we can have zero plane crashes, right? They can't have a plane crash, and the way that they ensure against that is one of the ways is they don't make it programmable.
Right. Do you know by any chance, I've been reading news about the Chinese government trying to roll out their own cryptocurrency. Do you know if that's programmable?
Well, it's interesting. I don't. So one of the other shows that I do is called Crypto Asia TV. And so, obviously that's always a topic of conversation. And, have you been to Asia as a crypto guy?
I did actually. I've spent quite some time in Korea.
Oh, cool.
And
okay,
recently in Taiwan, but not for the crypto scene.
Okay, because for me, I've been 24/7 since mid-17, and I tend to be attracted to what's scaling. Like, that to me is the most interesting thing. I don't think I know the future, other than it's about community. So I focus on community, and then I try and bring community to what's scaling. And the first thing that was really scaling that I saw was speculation in Asia.
Right. Yeah. I remember, I was in the bus, and there was one old guy trading crypto on Bithumb exchange and buying Ether, I think, just on the bus with me. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was almost surreal when you see that, right? When the first time I went to Israel, so before I got into crypto, I was investing in tech companies founded by Israelis. So I went there a lot. The first time I went as a crypto guy. I was meeting the CEO of Tether, kind of what I think the leading zero knowledge proof company in the world. And I'm like 5 minutes into the meeting with him, and he's like a 30-year-old guy. And he says, hey, do you want to see my store and my shop? And the way he said it, I was embarrassed that I didn't know what his shop was. So I said, sure. And so we leave his office, and we're walking down the street on Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv. So it's major street. And we walk a block, and then he points, and there's a line of people. And he goes, hey, yeah, they're waiting for my shop. That's the line for my shop. Did you know what his shop was?
I didn't know.
It was a Bitcoin ATM.
Oh, nice. I actually have a funny story. Bitcoin ATM played one of the crucial roles for us, because in the early days of the company, one of my partners, Vadim, he went to see the opening of the first Bitcoin ATM in Moscow. That was I think 2015 or around that time. So this is how we met quite a few folks who were in the crypto space, and that's how they learned about us, and we started collaborating and building projects together. That was one of the pivotal moments.
Super interesting. What was the thought about what Putin would think about crypto, and because that must have been a topic of discussion.
Definitely, yeah. So they were at that point. They were definitely unsure what they're going to do about the whole crypto thing. I still think that they are still unsure about that, but they didn't prohibit that. So a lot of experiments are still running in Moscow, blockchain experiments, and people are still building blockchain companies, but it's not as widespread, I would say, than, let's say, in the US.
Do you have a hosting? Because you just got a little quieter to me. I don't know. Annalise, can you hear? No, in any case, I can still hear you, but it's just a little more difficult. But in the time that you've been in the space, what blew you away the most?
That's a good question. I would say the whole concept. Let's start with something simple, so that nothing super specific comes to mind.
Can you talk a little louder? Did you take it off your face? I'm just trying to understand. I'm really having trouble hearing you.
I don't know. I didn't do anything. So let me 1 second.
Ladies, I'm just trying to think if you toggled off of the. Do you have the host
What is
thing?
wrong with that?
Oh, I don't know about you. I was hearing him very well when we started, and now he's very soft.
I mean, let me double check everything.
Okay.
He's still on megaphone. So
Okay.
did his headset die? Is he still there?
Yeah. Okay. So you can answer the question if you heard the question about what was the most what blew you away the most in the time you've been in crypto?
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
No, I mean I
No?
can barely hear you, but I can hear you.
Okay, I can try speaking louder.
Yeah, the louder you can speak, the better. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure.
Right. All right. So where were we?
I was just saying, what blew you away the most
Yeah, so
in
to
everything
start
you've
with,
seen in crypto?
yeah, I think the most impressive thing was the emergence of DeFi, I would say. So I didn't see that coming. So when like the ICO thing was very clear and kind of felt very simple and kind of natural to me. It was like easy. You just spin up your new token on top of Ethereum, and everyone did that, and like it was kind of like fun, but like not technologically, rocket science. But now, as we like looking into like I would say joining the 2012 train of DeFi, I think it's starting to explode. We see so many cool applications and how they work together. I think this is the most impressive so far I've seen. So actually, like about when was it? About a year and a half ago, I almost lost confidence in like what's next for the blockchain because we went to Consensus conference in New York and it was like full of scammy, really bad projects, and I didn't see anything real.
So this was 2019, a year ago, or 2018?
Where'd he go?
I think it kicked me out for some reason. I cannot go back on.
Yep.
Okay, that's weird. Hold on, that's strange.
Yep. Can you hit the B button on your Quest? Get up here.
I'm trying when it doesn't work.
Try again.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, there you go. Hey,
I'm back.
you're talking about all the scams. I'm just saying, was that 18 or 19?
I think that was 2018, and then
Okay.
I went to DEF CON, and that kind of rebounded my confidence back. And
Where was
because I
DeFCon?
sold-
Was that in Osaka or
that was in Prague.
in Prague? Okay.
Osaka is like it was kind of clear. Osaka was like we were seeing a bunch of new cool stuff being built, but like the Prague was just pivotal moment, I would say.
Was what?
Was a pivotal moment for the space because it was like
Yeah.
almost lost.
When was Prague?
2018 as well, I believe.
So late 18.
Yeah, late 18.
Okay. So this is like crypto winter starting to settle in. Right. We peaked at 20,000 actually. I forgot if I said, we started Crypto Mondays. So I don't know if you can see the Crypto Monday. Thank you for putting that up, Annalise. We started Crypto Monday on January 8th, 2018, which was literally the peak day for crypto market cap. So that's when it started going downhill. So by later in the year, we were down pretty substantially from our highs. So go on, you were talking about Prague? Can you talk?
Yes, I can talk now again.
Okay.
So many technical difficulties this time. Okay. Um, yeah.
So you're just saying you went to Prague, and if you could talk up.
Yeah. So we went to Prague with my CTO, and yeah, we just saw that like the whole ecosystem started to kind of re-emerge back. We saw real projects working again, like, and people who didn't care about the money, didn't care about the prices, and that was really helpful for me to kind of like reestablish the confidence.
Yeah, was Maker a thing then? I'm trying to think of the projects that.
Maker was, I don't think it was launched yet. It was around, but mainly it was just the difference in audience, I would say. So these were mainly developers versus business people in consensus conference.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. So developers, they were actually looking into like building something more interesting than just a token on top of Ethereum.
Yeah, no, that must have been exciting. You know, for me, when I think about, you know, and again, my mind's been blown very, very many times. But for me, the most mind-blowing thing was, or most mind is when it came out that Tether only had 75 cents on the dollar in the bank, and nobody cared.
Yeah. Well, that's a downside for sure.
Well, I mean, it's to say it's a downside. It is a factual thing. It's not an upside or a downside. Like, you know, to me, when I first got into the space, all the vitriol was a big turnoff, and I committed myself to fighting the vitriol. And now I think it's a feature, not a bug.
What do you mean by vitriol? Sorry.
I mean, there's a lot of hate. You know, people are very adamant about their views, and people who have counter views, you know, they can be very dismissive of, you know, in very mean ways, or, you know, they think things are a scam. And certainly there are a lot of scams, but there are a lot of stuff that people call scams that other people are like devoting their lives to.
Right.
And
so what do you think of Tether in that context?
Well, what Tether taught me was that currency, and I had heard this before, and I knew it, and I had and I had repeated it before, but it brought it home to me, was that it's to a large degree a social construct that the next guy is going to accept it for $1. And as long as you're comfortable that you can take it and give it to the next guy and he'll take it for $1, you're fine taking it. You don't care what's behind it. That's really not, you're not buying it because you can take it to the bank and get $1 back. That's not what you want to do with it.
Well, I definitely agree with that. I would say this same lesson was taught to us by just the US dollar very, very long time ago.
I guess. I mean, it's funny. Right? It's hard to argue with that. Yeah, I mean, the U.S. dollar is no different. It's just a confidence game, right? And the weird thing is, right? People have confidence until they don't. You know, there's a great book written by a UCLA professor who had previously written Guns, Germs, and Steel that he won the Pulitzer Prize for, and it's about the downfalls of democracy. And, you know, he did a historical look back, and he was actually living in Chile when it fell in the late 60s. And he said, you know, that they all have two things in common. One is the two sides are no longer able to compromise. And the other commonality they all share is nobody sees it coming.
Right. Let's see. I mean, let's hope this is not the prediction for the next couple of years. Maybe we can hope for that as well.
Well, look, it happens, right? I mean, you're seeing the same thing with the currency that I'm seeing, that a lot of people are seeing, that it's just, you know, do you know who, I'm spacing on his name now, but literally the biggest bond guy in the world, in the U.S., the number one most, like, thoughtful, he's running, you know, I don't know how many, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars in bonds. He's a young guy, based out of L.A. I'm forgetting his name. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
But in any case, he literally just said the other day on CNBC, he says, look, this is great if we can just print money and borrow money, then we don't need to collect taxes anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And this isn't like some left-wing commie. This is,
Well, I guess U.S. is in this kind of special position right now because of the huge surge in demand for the U.S. dollar. They're able to do that essentially, so they probably can do that for a bit with no taxes at all and just continue printing money as long as all the governments keep U.S. currency is in their reserve and then people use it as a reserve currency. But yeah, you're right saying that people believe until they don't. So.
Yeah, and it's very hard. I'm a little older. One of the stories I tell a lot was I was there at the beginning of internet video. My first company was a top-level domain.tv. We were the biggest streamers of video in 2000. But it sucked because the pipes weren't fat enough, and so the experience sucked, and nobody did it. And so we pivoted out of that business. And fast forward 4 years, I was running both the social network, and I thought its time was there. And I looked at buying 3 companies. I bought the largest. I talked to the first 3, and then one day somebody uploaded a video to the second one called Lazy Sunday. Mm-hmm. And that day it became the fastest growing website in the history of the internet. 6 months later, Google bought it for $1.5 billion. That was YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah, and fast forward 5 years.
Do you think crypto is too early, or is it right on time?
I mean, for me, it seems to me self-evident that these series of technologies, when I say crypto, I mean, what do you mean when you say crypto?
Yeah, let's talk about, I would say, DeFi. Do you think it's ready for mass scaling, or is it it's going to take another couple years to do that?
I mean, I'm very simple. I really am. So again, I was there. I saw, it's lightning in a bottle, right? And you have to have, a bunch of things lined up. And what we need to do is have a product that people want, that they can have, right? And right now, I don't think we've solved for either one of those two. I think there's no product that people out there are going, oh my God, I want this thing that I can only get. I mean, for a while it was Bitcoin or any shitcoin, right? But I mean, right now, there's really nobody who's saying that. There's this DeFi product that I just have to have, right? That's not a thing beyond the people in our little echo chamber. And by the way, even if there was, there's kind of no way for them to get it at the moment, right? I mean, how are they going to get it? They're going to use MetaMask, and I mean,
Yeah, the experience is crappy right now. That's for sure. That's what we're working on.
Yes, no, and that's what everybody's working on, right? And so the only 2 questions in my mind are when, and and I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody does. And I think we're all working to have it be sooner rather than later. But I think it's already, one of the realizations you have to come to when you come to the space that everybody comes to is, oh my God, it's going to take a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, I've lived through a few stages of that, I would say.
Yeah, right. So everybody has to go through that, and that's fine. I mean, that's there's something called the Mare's Law. He was a professor at Stanford in the early 70s when he came up with it, and that's that the impact of all great technology is overestimated in the short run and underestimated in the long run. And that's what I think of crypto, and that's what I think of DeFi. I think these are such massively globally changing things. And it's so weird to me that 99.9999% of the people in the world have no idea, have no interest, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where we are.
Because we're getting this whole, there's a whole world here happening for us, and some people just never realize that this is out there. Just like VR.
Yeah, and by the way, maybe it's not a thing, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a thing, but I'm also cognizant that there are lots of other things that I thought were things, But for me, kind of having been through the internet bubble and crash, what I personally learned from that is that the market, like I believed, and I've been a stock market analyst before, so I wasn't an idiot about markets, but I let the market tell me what my own company was worth at the top and at the bottom, which is ridiculous. The market, it turns out, is a signal, but it's not the truth. And so it's not that I can't be wrong, but I'm not letting the market and where the market is tell me whether I'm wrong or not. I mean, I'm listening to it, but I'm weighing it massively less than I used to.
Right. But market is a consensus. So there are people who disagree with the consensus, and you're welcome to do that. But sometimes it's going to be hard to convince others.
As much as I believe in the wisdom of the crowd, right, the wisdom of the crowd is only a thing if the crowd actually has any kind of basis of understanding of what you're talking about. If you ask the crowd about if you ask the crowd about a quantum computing question, there is no wisdom of the crowd because the crowd knows fucking nothing about quantum computing, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that
like the market is always right. I'm just saying that like if you need to run your company, you need to convince others in your perspective, not the market's perspective, which is just a bit more complicated than going blindly with the market.
Yes, and I agree with you. And by the way, I mean, I think the market is massively efficient. Like that was the macro lesson that I got from being on the street was, oh my God, the stock market is really fucking efficient. And I really felt, I spent my last 4 years at Goldman that if I had one good idea a year, just one good idea a year, that I could see something and have conviction that other people didn't see, that was a massive year. And, and I think as I've gotten older, I found it's taken I have a lot longer periods than 1 year between when I see something that most other people don't. And the last thing I saw was Israel. The thing before that was Facebook. And it's not that people don't think it's a thing, but it's they have no idea of the scale of the thing.
Right.
And that's what I think. And that's what I think about crypto. And I accept that I could be wrong. There's a great Rudyard Kipling poem, If. And he's got a line in the poem, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, yet leave allowances for their doubting too.
Right. I got to run, unfortunately, but that was great.
Okay, I know you said you had to go. Great,
Yep.
Great. And again, I'm sorry, I yapped a lot. I forgot that we had the hard stop, which you said you had, but this was great. I look forward to the next time.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Let's give him a big hand. Let's show him some love.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
See ya.